In this video, we will be solving the question that you see on your screen. Pause the video and go through the question. So I hope you have gone through the question. I'll just summarize everything for you. We have been asked to create a table called students, which will store the details, roll number, percentage, and rank of the student. Now, based on the value of rank, we will be grouping students in two tables. Students having a rank which is an even number will be placed in one table, and students having a rank which is an odd number will be placed in another table. So with this in mind, we can start writing some code. The first thing that we need to do is we need to create a table called students, which will store the details, roll number, percentage, and rank. As you can see, I have highlighted. So let's do that first. So I'll jump into my notepad and create a table called students. So I'll say create table. The name of the table is students. And as you can see, the attributes that have been given are roll number, and roll number is underlined, which makes it a primary key, percentage, which is generally expressed in fractions, and a value for the rank of a student in class. So roll number will of course be an integer, and it will be a primary key attribute as it has been mentioned in the question. The attribute percentage will take on fractional values. So we give it a type of number. And this 5,2, what does this represent? This represents that the percentage attribute can have a value which is of maximum 5 digits with a maximum of 2 digits after the decimal point. And the third attribute is rank, which will also be a whole number. So I'll give it a type integer. Now I'll simply copy this piece of code and paste it in my SQL plus prompt. Now if I hit enter, I can see that a table has been successfully created. Along with this table, we need to create two more tables. One table will store the same details, that means roll number, percentage, and rank of a student, but the student must have a rank which is an odd number. Similarly, we'll have a second table which will store the same details as you can see highlighted, but the student must have a rank which is an even number. So I'll simply copy this line. So let me just go at the end, hit enter. I'll just copy this line, paste it. I'll paste it again. I'll create two more tables. I'll call my first table odd underscore students and my second table even underscore students. In my prompt, I'll simply bring up the previous command and I'll make the change as follows. I'll change the name of the table to odd underscore students. Everything else remains the same. I'll hit enter and I'll see that the table has been created. Similarly, I'll again change the name of this table to even underscore students. I'll hit enter and the table has been created. So I've successfully created three tables. Now my job is to insert a few records into my original student table. So I'll say insert into, the name of the table is students. Now since I'll be giving values for all the attributes and in the same order as I have created the table, that means I'll mention the values in the order of roll number, percentage, and rank. Since I'll be maintaining the order and having values for all the attributes of the table, I can skip the list of attributes and directly go to the values part. So I can say insert into students values, or you could, if you're comfortable with listing out the values, you can do that as well. So you can write roll, percentage, and rank. And now you have to list out the values in exactly this order, where the first value will represent your roll number, The first value that you mention will be roll number, the second value will represent percentage, and the third value will represent rank. I'll list out the values. Let's say 1, comma, let's say the percentage is 56.7 and the rank is 5. Now I'll simply copy this and I'll paste it 4 more times. I want to create 5 records, say roll number 2, roll number 3, roll number 4, and roll number 5. Now I'll have 65.7. Let's say that is rank 4. I'll have 98%, which is rank 1. I'll have 87%, which is rank 3. And I'll finally have 81%, which is rank. Okay, I'll make this 89 rather. Yeah, which is rank 2. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll simply take these lines of codes and I'll paste it in my prompt. And okay, I think I missed the semicolon, so there seems to be an issue. See, I missed the semicolon at the end, so SQL doesn't understand that one complete statement has come to an end. So I'll simply copy it again and I'll paste it, but before pasting it I'll simply clear the screen for you so that you can understand things better. And as you can see that 5 rows have been created one at a time. Just to be doubly sure, we will list out the contents of the table students. So I'll say select star from students, and as you can see that all 5 records have been correctly inserted. So roll number 3 has scored the highest percentage and has rank 1. Roll number 2 has scored roll number 5 rather has scored a percentage of 89 and has a rank 2. Roll number 4 has scored a percentage of 87 as a rank 3. Roll number 2 has scored a percentage 65.7 and has rank 4. And finally, roll number 1 has scored 56.7 and has a rank 5. Now, our objective is to place records with rank 1, 3, and 5 in the table odd underscore students, and the records with rank 2 and 4 in even underscore students. So let's do that. So for that, we'll have to write some PLSQL code. So we'll start with the declare section. Now I need a variable which will keep track of the total number of rows in my table. So I'll say number of rows, and it will be an integer. I'll initialize it with a value of, in fact, I don't need to initialize it at all. I need a variable called loopvar, which will help me to loop over the contents of the table students. I'll give it a type of integer and I'll initialize it with a value of 1. Now I need to separate out the records based on the rank. So I need a variable called mrank, and it will be of type integer. This will extract the rank value of every record as I proceed. Now, along with the rank, I also need a variable called m percentage, which will be of type number and size will be 5,2. I need this in order to be able to extract the percentage value of a particular record and to store it in either the table or underscore students or even underscore students depending on the rank. Now I'll start with my begin block. As you know, my first job, like I've been showing you for the last 3 videos, my first job is to find the total number of rows present in my table. Now for that we have this function called CountStar. So if I do select CountStar from my table students, what I get is I get the total number of rows present in my table. Now CountStar is an aggregate function which gives us the total number of rows present in a table. And using this count star, what I'll do is I'll find out the number of records in my table. So I'll say select count star, and I want to store the output of this SQL statement. Which is the SQL statement I'm talking about? I'm talking about this SQL statement, select count star from students. I want to store the output of this SQL statement, select count star from students, in a variable called number of rows. So I'll say number of rows. Now, in order to store the output of an SQL statement in a variable, we use the into clause like I have done here. And I want to do it from the table students. So this will give me the total number of records present in my table. The next thing that I need to do is I need to iterate over every record. So for that, I'll run a loop. I'll run a while loop. I'll say while loop var, which is my loop control variable, as long as it is lesser than or equal to the total number of rows, I'll loop over every record. And as and when I loop, what will I do? I'll extract the rank value. So I'll say select. So which attribute do I want? I want the rank attribute, and I'll be storing it in a variable which I've declared earlier called mrank. This will help me to check whether a rank is odd or even. So I'll find this attribute value and store it into a variable called mrank, and I'll do this from the table students. And what I must keep in mind is I want to do this for one record at a time. So for that, I'll keep a where clause. So I'll do this for the record where the roll number attribute value matches with my loop counter variable, which is loop var. So when my loop var has an initial value of 1, which row will it match with? It will match with the first row. Why? Because the first row has a roll number attribute value of 1. Similarly, when loop var will become 2, it will match with the second row. Why? Because the second row has a value of 2 for the roll number attribute. Similarly, when my loop var will become 3, it the condition that I've written here, this statement will extract the rank attribute value of which row? It will extract the rank attribute value of the third row. Why? Because the current value of my loop counter variable loop var is 3, and it matches with the roll number attribute value of the third row. In this way, we are able to process one row at a time. So after finding out the rank, our next job is to check the type of rank we are talking about. So is it an odd rank value or is it an even rank value? So for that, we have the mod operator, right? In fact, here mod is more of a function than an operator. So we'll say if mod of my variable rank mrank comma 2, right? So in order to check for even number, what do we do? If you remember from basic programming, let's say if you're writing a code in C, what would you say? You would say if mrank mod 2 is equal to 0. What does this mean? This means that if the rank attribute value when divided by 2 gives you a remainder of 0, it means that it is an even value. Similarly, if it is equal to 1, it means that it is an odd value. So this mod operator in most programming languages is denoted by the percentage symbol, but here for PLSQL statements we have the mod function denoted by mod. This mod function, what will it do is it will take the mrank variable and it will divide it by 2 and find the remainder. So if the remainder happens to be 0, it means that the rank is an even value. And if it is an even value, we will insert it in our table even underscore students. Similarly, if it is an odd value, we'll insert it in our table odd underscore students. So what we'll do is we will insert the record. What are the attributes that we want to insert? In our record, we want to insert the role, we want to insert the percentage, and we want to insert the rank. Now, the role attribute value can be found from the value of the loop var variable itself. The percentage attribute value has to be found out separately. So for that, we need another select clause. So we'll say select which attribute do I want? I want the percentage attribute, and I want to store it in a variable called m percentage, which I have declared earlier. So select percentage into m percentage from students, and I want to do this for the current row, which is denoted by the value of loop var. So this will give me the percentage value of my current record, which matches, or whose roll number attribute value matches with my loop control variable loop var. Now you might be wondering that why do I have to do it every time? Can't I use the percentage attribute directly? The problem is you cannot. In PLSQL, what happens is, see, I'll show you. So I'll say insert into. So if it is equal to 0, if the mod value comes out to be 0, it means that it is an even rank value. So I have to insert it in the table even underscore student. So I'll say insert into even underscore students. And what are the values that I want to insert? I want to insert the value loop var. I want to insert the value m percentage. I want to insert the value of rank, right? So I want to insert it as m rank. Now you might be wondering that can't I directly use the percentage attribute value? Can I not directly use the rank attribute value from the students table? We cannot. We cannot use the attribute values directly from the table. We have to take the attribute values from a table, store it in appropriate variables like I have done here in m percentage and m rank respectively, and then insert it in a new table. So that's why we have to create separate variables in order to extract the attribute values, because attributes from tables cannot be stored directly in another table. We have to take the attribute values, store it in a variable, and those variables or those variable values can be stored in our or can be transferred in our new table. Now, if the mod value, like we are calculating here, if it is not 0, then it has to be 1. If you divide a number by 2, either you get a remainder of 0 or you get a remainder of 1. If you get a remainder of 0, it means that the number is even, and so we insert it into our table even underscore students. And if we get a remainder of 1, it means that it is odd, and so we insert it into our table odd underscore students. So I'll say else, and it's the same thing, right? The same insert into statement has to be written. The only difference is that instead of even underscore students, we will have odd underscore students, right? And everything else remains the same. So I'll end off my if block. I'll give a semicolon, and I need to update my loop counter variable loop var so that I can proceed to the next record. So I'll say loop var equal to loop var plus 1. And after this, we'll end off our loop block. We'll end off our PLSQL begin block. So I hope I've taken care of most of the things. Now let's try to execute this PLSQL block. I hope I'm not missing anything. If there is any error, I think we can deal with it. So I'll just clear the screen. I hope you have got a look of the content of the students table. We'll display it again after executing our PLSQL block. Now I'll simply paste the code here. I'll give the forward slash, and okay, we have an error at line number 11. So let's just find that error. Where is the problem? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, now what is the problem here? So they're saying, let's just look at the error code. They're saying that the view does not exist. Okay, I think we have missed something. Yes, there is a typo here. You can see this will be students, and I just missed the D there. So that's why we got an error. Really sorry about that. This is one of the main drawbacks of live coding. You're coding while recording the video. So even if you make any errors, it shows up anyway. And we can see that thankfully the PLSQL procedure has been successfully completed. Now let's just clear the screen. Now let's see the contents of our table. So let's select star from our original table students. Now you can see that the original table is unchanged. Now let's see whether the updates have taken place successfully. So we'll do select star from odd underscore students, and you can see that the students who have a rank value which is an odd number. So you look at the ranks, it's 1, 3, 5, and 1, 3, 5 are all odd numbers. And if you observe the original table, the records with rank 1, 3, and 5 have been correctly copied in our table odd underscore students. Similarly, if I do a select star, I can simply bring out I can bring out the previous command, and I can say even underscore students, and I can see that the original table which had even rank values, the even rank values were the last row and the second row, they have been correctly inserted in our table even underscore students. So I hope you have understood how to go about writing PLSQL code where insertions have to be made in a new table or in more than one new table. If you have any doubts, please feel free to comment in the section given below. I'll see you in the next one.